Hi everybody, it's Honest John. We haven't had an act of political violence here in the USA, at least not that I know of, since Gabby Giffords was shot in Arizona. I could be wrong. If I am, let me know. Now, Norway had an attack by a Christian terrorist, but since I'm not that familiar with their culture and their media, I won't focus on that. I did put out a video at the time called Christian Terrorists, in which I talked about acts of terrorism by right-wing Christians. The link to that I'll put in the description box. I was not surprised that I got some comments from some stupid toads denying that there was any such thing as right-wing Christian terrorism. For them, it's only terrorism if Muslims do it. If a Christian and a Muslim blow up buildings right beside each other, the Muslim will be committing terrorism and the Christian will be doing just a simple crime. Even though there really isn't any difference between right-wing Christians and right-wing Muslims. But the seeds of right-wing violence are still here. Right-wing hate radio still thrives, and they haven't moderated their rhetoric at all. Just in this year, we've had Neil Boots calling for the murder of black people in Atlanta. Glenn Beck urged graduates at Liberty University to shoot to kill. Right-wing blogger William Geen called for illegal and violent activities to save white America from Obama. Dick Morris on Fox said that there was a case to be made for shooting ATF agents. And Michelle Bachmann said that she wants Minnesotans to be armed and dangerous. And when called on these kinds of statements, then they play the victim and they rail against political correctness and they try to hide behind the First Amendment. Got news for you assholes. The First Amendment doesn't cover that shit. There's no protection for incitement to violence. And for those people who deny the impact of their words, let me just point out that there's a guy by the name of James McVeigh who was sitting in prison in Minnesota for murdering a lady by the name of Maybelle Sheen. And he says that he hatched his plan to kill President Obama while listening to right-wing talk radio. These people aren't dumb. They know what effect their words have, and they cultivate it. And I gotta say, the left is not entirely innocent in this area. Recently, there were calls by some left-wing bloggers for the assassination of Sarah Palin. And I condemn that just as much as I condemn the right wing. But if you look at it, the preponderance of this stuff is on the right. You can listen to MSNBC all day, and they won't call for anybody to be killed. Whereas Glenn Beck on Fox was constantly inciting his followers to violence, and Bill O'Reilly kept calling for the murder of Dr. George Tiller until it happened. Even after Tiller had survived one attempt on his life, O'Reilly didn't change. This was on purpose. O'Reilly wanted Tiller to be murdered, and he kept on it until he was. So let's stop pretending this stuff is coincidental. These people are deliberately inciting their most disturbed and unstable followers to violence. And here's why. Over the years, all of the right-wing ideas have been tried and they've failed miserably. Deregulation and tax cuts for the rich and the corporations have created the economic disaster that plagues America right now. Add in their war policies, and that's been a disaster too. And more Americans are rejecting their hatred for those who are racially, ethnically, religiously different, or different in sexual orientation. Basically, everything that they stand for is being rejected, and we live every day with the proof that their ideas don't work. So their words and actions grow increasingly violent. They embrace it. It's all they have left. Thanks for listening.